Lisa Frankenstein was directed by Zelda Williams and written by Diablo Cody, who I'm sure most people know for Juno and the now cult favorite Jennifer's Body. And she also wrote a few other movies which are really good, like Young Adult and Tully, which were really solid films. And if you haven't watched them, I do recommend checking them out. In this movie, we follow Lisa, played by Katherine Newton, a girl who has been through something horribly tragic recently, and she's trying to find a way out of it. One night, while she's wishing for someone that she has seen at a graveyard who died many years ago, wishing that he comes back to life. He does, played by Cole Sprouse, and eventually the two of them form a budding romance, and now we have a movie. Now, I didn't really know too much about this movie going in. I didn't really hear about it until very recently, and I thought it sounded interesting. Also, especially with the cast involved. I do like the two lead actors. I think Diablo Cody has done a pretty good job as a writer, and there is a review of Jennifer's Body on my channel, by the way, which I'm gonna link to end of this video. You can go watch that video, and I do think it's gotten better over time, that movie. It got its cult following, and it has paid off in a pretty solid way. There is a likely scenario that I watch Lisa Frankenstein some years from now and the same thing happens. And there is a very likely scenario that this also ends up becoming a cult favorite of sorts. Some people are really going to enjoy this movie down the line, but you might just enjoy it right now as well. For my money, I would say the movie is fine. I think there are some really good things about it. I don't think it's as good as it could be. I'll get more into that stuff in a bit, but let me talk about the positives first, because for one, everybody commits to this thing very, very nicely. Katherine Newton is maybe the best I've ever seen her in this movie. She is very good in it. And she's having a ton of fun with this role. She has a ton of energy as the film goes on. And so much of that, physical performance that she has really does come through. And she's really, really good at making some of those, more exuberant choices as her character develops throughout the film. Cole Sprouse as the reanimated body is dialogueless. The guy doesn't say one word, and he's pretty good though. Like has to just really mumble his way through the movie for the most part with sound effects. He'll just go and that's it. The rest of it is all physical. And again, there's a point where that eventually blossoms into something really, really fun, and that was cool. The standout of the movie for me was Lisa Soberano. I don't know her from anything, but I thought she was great. She was very funny in the movie and had some of the funniest lines, and I thought she was easily the sort of like the hidden MVP of the movie, and I'm excited to see whatever she ends up doing down the line. I think she's gonna be really, really good in whatever she does. It takes place in 1989, and the film very much feels like it's come from 1989. Down to the sets, the costumes, the score, the colors used. It's very much is a movie in that moment of time. And it's captured so well, and I really like what they did in order to make it feel as authentic as it could. I was actually surprised at the fact that this movie somehow didn't get made by Tim Burton, because the movie feels like Tim Burton made this in the 90s. It could have easily been made at that point of time, or even the early 2000s. Like, this could have come out right between like Edward Scissorhands and then 20 years later, Dark Shadows. Right in the middle is this movie, and it fits perfectly. But Zelda Williams captures that very, very well, and I'm not trying to discredit her direction. I think she's very good at what she does in this movie. It's a very well directed film. Where I do think the film suffers, however, is in terms of its script. It isn't as bizarre and outlandish as I think it wants to be, and it's not even a braiding thing. It's not because it's PG-13 and it's being held back. Even then, it manages to do some crazy things. It's just that it somehow still wants to hold itself back. And I'm not really sure why it does so. And sometimes it feels like it's going really for the extreme, bizarre and crazy vibe that it wants to achieve. And in those moments, the film soars. But then there are other moments where it does go more into, teenage comedy, high school stuff, where it, sort of lessens itself. And like, why are you playing it safe? Don't play it safe. Because in the moments where it doesn't play it safe, it feels like a totally different movie. It feels like that day there was something extra being added to the script over there, which I really wish was there in a little bit more. As a result of that, there are other things that feel a little underdeveloped. There's one thing that they bring up as a major part of Lisa's story and it doesn't really get a payoff, at least not the kind that I think they were going for. There is something, but it's also the kind of thing where it's like, yeah, but that doesn't really address something very serious about it. It seems very trivial. That's the word I'm looking for. It just feels like a very simple thing that is kind of, pushed under the rug. And while some of the other things are sewn very seamlessly into the movie, there are other things that feel like they're kind of frayed, and it doesn't feel like the stitch on those is as effective as it is. There are going to be a lot of puns in this video about stitching and sewing. It's just, when you're doing a Frankenstein review, you must commit to the bit. The movie also has some pacing issues. There are points where it feels like some things linger a little too much. There's a momentum issue more than often. It feels like the movie goes through these highs and lows very, very consistently. It's like it goes really, really up. It's very interesting, and then it falls down, and then it goes up again, then it's all goes. And that goes along with, the clashing sense of what the movie is trying to be. But like I said, I see a cult following for this down the line. I see a scenario where this becomes the next movie that is watched by tons of, teenagers and, kids growing up, and it becomes this big favorite and people talk about it for a while. There's a retrospective 10 years from now where Catherine Newton's in an interview and she's like, oh my God, making that was so amazing. And Cole Sprouse is like, hell yeah, it was. And that could very much happen. Time will tell. So, whatever I'm saying right now, let's reconvene in a little while and we'll see where it stands. I'm gonna give Lisa Frankenstein a 6.5 out of 10. Let's reconvene in like 5 years, okay? Not even 10. We don't have to wait that long. Maybe 5. Let's start with 5. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Look forward to more videos very, very soon. As always, if you like this, please do subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the movies.